Hey, it's Heather at Adventures in Gardening, and did you know even if you live in an area where you have cold winters like I do in Connecticut Zone 6, that you can grow your own citrus, your own edible citrus? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So my name is Heather Thibault and I garden in Connecticut Zone 6, and I try to grow as much as I possibly can, you know, fruits and vegetables, herbs, perennials, annuals, do my own propagating, extend my season in either direction. But something I rarely talk about is my love for houseplants, and within the houseplants are my citrus trees. So I have this collection of citrus trees that I have had for years, and I'm going to tell you all about them in just a few minutes. But if you are a real citrus grower and you live someplace where they're planted in the ground, look away, because the things that I'm going to tell people, I'm going to tell you how you can do what I do and have citrus to eat from your own trees, even in a cold climate. But I don't know how people do it in where they grow in the ground. I can only tell you what I have learned over the years. Now, this orange right here is from this big tree right there that was my grandmother's. And I have had it for over 20 years. And she had it for many, many years before that. So it's a quite old tree, and it produces faithfully year after year. So here are my top tips for growing citrus in northern climates. Number one, be prepared to move them in and out, okay? It's not the kind, I'm going to tell you why in just a minute, but really they're going to do their very best in perfect air, perfect light that is outside for the spring, summer, and fall. So keep a pot that you can move them in and out. Now, where I am right now in this time of year, it is the fall. And so what is my threshold? Believe it or not, my threshold is a lot colder than you might think. It's 37. It is the number that I looked for, 37 degrees, and we're either going to cover or we're going to bring in, depending on how the outlook looks from there. I want my citrus trees to recognize the shorter days and go to sleep. It is time to take a little bit of a break and go have a nap. Now, here's the big reason why I want that to happen. You're gonna get bugs. There's gonna be bugs. I don't care who you are or how meticulous you are about checking your plants. You are going to get, if you have citrus, you're gonna get scale, you're gonna get mealybug, you're gonna get spider mites, you're going to get all of those things. Now, mealybug is really easy to identify. It looks like little bits of cotton, okay? Scale looks like little hard snail shells, but no snail is poking out. And you may notice, at first, you may notice that your floor is sticky around your plants. That is the first sign that you've got that problem. And if your foliage looks dusty, you have spider mites, okay? You don't even need to look any further. They are there. Now, with that said, if I can get them to kind of go into a dormancy and take a rest, I'm going to reduce the amount of time that I have pests inside, okay? These plants are going to start waking up in February. The days get a little bit longer, the temperatures start to raise a little bit, and they are going to start to leaf out in February. And that is when that's when I'm going to start to see critters inside again. I'm going to see them. I'm going to tell you, there are things that you can do, all right? You can use an insecticidal soap, you can use a dormant oil. There are more natural sprays that you can use to help to control the situation, because will you fully get rid of it? I have never fully gotten rid of it. Okay, now here is a big one that people don't think about. Store them in a cooler room for the winter time. If you have a room, like a spare room where it stays a little bit cooler, I have a room that I can put them in that will stay about 50-ish degrees, maybe dip down a little more at night. If you have a place like that, that is an ideal place to keep your citrus trees for the winter months. Most people want to put them in their main household. They think that they want to be warm and sunny, and yes, they do, okay? They can have plenty of warm and sunny days in the spring, summer, and fall, but for storage for the winter, to keep your pests down and to keep your problems at bay, you're going to want to put them in a cooler room for the winter. So my goal is to keep them outside for as long as I can through the year. So they are in a very protected area right here in the corner of our deck. Now in the springtime, when it is time for them to go outside and you're watching those temperatures and you're watching your frost, because the frost is a really big deal. Now last spring I did have an instance where I actually got freezing rain on my oranges, on this orange, and my plants were okay. I was out there, you know, trying to like thaw it with whatever I had. It was I thought I had lost everything, but they overcame that. So, but it's always risky. So you got to watch that. The nighttime temperatures, the daytime temperatures, of course, but it's the nighttime. You got to watch those temps when you bring them out in the springtime. And when you bring them out in the springtime, they're going to get sunburned. So I have an umbrella over my head right now that I put up. Even though, you know, your citrus loves sunshine. Yes, they do. They love the sunshine. But it's like when you go outside the first time in the summer and you get that sunburn, you don't want that to happen to the foliage on your plants. You can cover them with frost blankets for part of each day, or just put them out in the shade, or pick a nice stretch of overcast days that you can bring them out for the very first time in the spring. And again, 37 is my nighttime temperature, and that's when I will start to bring them out. I cannot wait to get them out in the springtime. All right, they're huge. They take up a lot of space. By that time, you know, we're looking late March, early April, and you know, I do have pests. Aphids sometimes. I know I didn't mention them earlier. Sometimes there will be aphids. Aphids, I just think that you can just pick them off, just squish them off or whatever. It's the scale and the spider mites that are a big deal. Be prepared to root prune your citrus trees. Listen, none of us are getting any younger, right? I can only lift so much weight and bring them out. I have dollies, I use a dolly, but there's going to come a point where I'm not going to go into a bigger pot here. We're going to stay in that pot forever. So you can take them out every few years, you can root prune them, put some new soil in there, and it's worked so far that way for me. Fertilize. You've got to fertilize these plants. Where else are they going to get their food from besides you putting fertilizer in? I use the Espoma Citrus Tone, and I don't measure, I just pour it on. When they're outside, they don't get any food when they're inside. Okay, so it's during the active growing period where they are getting food, and I water it in really well. Speaking of water, don't forget to water these, especially when they're outside, okay? I have to water these outside here every single day. Inside, different story, okay? You only want to water them when they have come in, when that top soil, when the top of that pot is dry to the touch. You want it to be dry to the touch, and then when it is, give them a good drink, and then just monitor and keep an eye on them. Now that all sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? Is it worth it, Heather? It sure is worth it, because I'm going to open up this orange and show you how beautiful this is. Not to mention, come March, we're going to have the fragrance of citrus blossoms all through my house for weeks. So my oranges never get like really super orange off of my my grandmother's tree. I don't know what kind of orange it is. I don't even know if she knew what kind of orange it is. All I can tell you that this is a huge treat when we have an orange, and we'll have I don't know, 8 to 10 a year. This next year, this took 1 year. This took a year for me to have this orange. Next year there's not going to be many, because when I put them out in the spring, is there like, oh yeah, I'm getting like little orange orange oils are going into the air here. This past spring we were working on something. We were working in the room that I take and put my citrus in, and I had to move them out prematurely. There was a windstorm. Oh my goodness. This tree fell over so many times, and it knocked a lot of the fruits that had set off. So next year there will not be as many oranges. That's okay. I've got a lot of lemons on this lemon tree right here. That is a ponderosa lemon. It is very grapefruity. It's a really nice one. The lemons get huge, really big. So this has a very thick skin to it, easy to peel. I think it's easy to peel. There are also very few seeds that are in this orange. I had an orange yesterday and then I saved a couple of the seeds. I totally have grown. I have some of the ponderosa lemons that I grew from seed, and I believe they are either 7 or 8 years, so we'll see next year what happens. So I've also grown Meyer lemon from seed, and they're still fairly young, but it's fun. If you're going to grow them from seed yourself, go ahead and when you collect the seed, don't let the seeds dry out. Just go ahead and plant the seeds. But this is my orange right here. Oh, and it's so, I mean, if you've never had a fresh picked orange, they're just so special. It's so delicious and sweet and juicy. Even the white part is still like tender. I don't know how to describe it. The kids love it. When I'll have a group of kids here and I'll pick an orange and they get to eat it fresh, and something hopefully they'll remember the rest of their lives. Remember that time we were at Mrs. Tebow's and we had a fresh orange? All right, so now I'm going to tell you a little bit about all my trees that are behind me here. All right, so I am just getting ready to take all the rest of the oranges off of this tree so that I can cut it back seriously, because I know it's nestled in here and it really doesn't look that big. But when you bring something like this inside the house, it just takes up way too much space. I think in the way back, I think that one may be from the spring, but I'm going to take that fruit off as well because it just doesn't look great. But I'll have a couple more really juicy oranges still that I'll stick in the refrigerator. So I am 5'6", and this is probably 5'9". I am guessing that that's how tall this citrus tree is. It has been through a lot. Over the years, I've raised English Angora rabbits, and Miss Kitty, man, can we see the scar? Miss Kitty was a naughty bunny, and she took and ate some of that trunk, but the tree is still doing okay. You gotta watch for sun scald, and there are parts of the day that I still put the umbrella up even through the summer. And so this is my ponderosa lemon, and you can get citrus trees at Logie's even if you don't live nearby. It is in Danielson, Connecticut. Is that scale? I think it's an old scale. They will ship it to you. That's what they do. They do a lot of mail order plants. So the ponderosa lemon, these lemons are going to still get a lot bigger than they are. Yes, you see that there is like some sootiness going on. I am going to trim everybody and then use just soapy water and just clean all the leaves up so that they're prepared to come in when it is time to come in. You see that there's a yellow jacket going around. They are they go after the sweetness from the scales. So yeah, I will be using the soap and cleaning them up, and oh yeah, you can totally see the scale. Okay, there is scale on this one right now. So can you see it on my fingers? Yeah, those little bumps, that's scale. So I guess they excrete like the sweetness that the insects really like. The ants will come and get it too. So I've got to clean these up before they can come in. Sometimes I just hope that the good air circulation will take care of it. Obviously, it did not. Now down here, I'll actually take one of these out. This is a Meyer lemon that I started from seed, and you see that it is just one big stalk here. because I like standard trees. So I'm going to let it grow until I cut the top, and then it's going to branch out. And that one is it's only been a year. So this is my ponderosa lemon that just needs to be straightened out in its pot. But same thing, I grew it to a certain point and then I cut the top. So this is going to get a trim back as well today. This is autumn gold orange, and I have had this one, I want to say 4 or 5 years. I have, and I know there's a lot of that sooty look to it, and I will be taking care of that. And so I've had fruit set and then fruit drop, so it just hasn't been ready to hold its fruit yet. And then this is Australian finger lime, and I've had plenty of these fruits in the past. They are like little caviar beads. I don't know if there's any on here. Annabelle nomium. Yeah, there's none on here quite yet. The thorns on this one are huge, but it's definitely a keeper. It is different, and it's very, very easy to grow. All of them are easy to grow if you just take a couple extra steps. So all citrus are really easy to grow. You just got to do a few extra things, especially if you live in the north, to have nice, healthy, and fruit-producing plants. So I would love it if you'd leave a comment if you're growing citrus trees and you're like, hey, don't forget about this. Try doing this to make things easier, because they really are easy to grow as long as you know the right things to do for them. So leave me a comment if you're a citrus grower and you live in a place where it gets cold in the winter. I would love to hear from you. Thumbs up if you enjoyed spending time with me today, and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next adventure in gardening. See you soon.